Please state your name for the jury.
What's your favorite game?
Please state your name for the jury.
Caroline, Kelso,
Weingart,
Feingart,
Zook.
Zook.
Today's date is, don't say the date because then it'll date this video, 2025.
This is
All right,
off
Carol.
to a rollicking start.
What are we doing?
This is an unedited meeting where we are going to discuss the future of our YouTube channel.
Hey, you're feeling better.
I know.
Not like 100%.
Not 100%.
But we're feeling better. You can actually like
way better.
sit down, talk about business stuff, think about things.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it.
Okay, good.
Great.
Okay, so YouTube strategy. Maybe let's just take a step back and go with what was almost a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago. What was our YouTube strategy?
Well, our YouTube strategy back then, well, first of all, it was really important to us to not go chasing waterfalls, not use YouTube as like, we weren't using it as a means to grow Wandering Aimfully.
The membership.
Correct.
Yeah.
We went into it like, we believe in video. We believe that a lot more people are searching things on YouTube and things like that. So first,
one of us has a lot of experience with video, so it's not like we were just like, let's just try video.
Right.
Yeah.
So in our minds, we were kind of like, we want to do this show, which is the podcast, and we just thought it would be silly not to also film it and put it on YouTube, just as a sort of like...
Yeah, accompaniment.
Right. And so that we knew was going to be the majority of the content. There was a time period where we thought, okay, once we started to decide to build Without Burnout, which is like our core flagship course inside Wandering Aimfully, that has a very specific audience, which is basically freelancers who want to transition to online courses. We thought to ourselves, okay, it's feasible that somebody might be searching, that person might be searching for some things on YouTube. Why don't we create content that they might find? That was our Pretend People Problem series, which was our fun way of doing something different than just being like, how
Here are
to
3 tips
come
to
up
with
with an idea for your digital product. So, but basically those were all just like fun wrappers for content that was how-to content for those people. Other than that, I mean, for me, the overarching reason behind video and why I think it's a compelling medium for us is, and this purpose that I feel like it serves in our business, is to show people our personality and to help us stand out. I think we do have personality, and I think it would be doing our business a disservice if we didn't use that kind of weirdness and fun, like, repartee.
We're having
a
rap
the correct
party?
use of that.
A rap party?
And how you pronounce it, I'm not sure.
Rapport?
It felt
you trying
right.
to say rapport?
There's a word called repartee that I'm thinking of. That
well, these are
might
unedited
fit.
meetings, because if it wasn't, I would have a field day with that.
I feel like we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't show our personalities, and I think video is a great place for that. But I haven't been able to film anything for the past, like, 6 months.
Yeah.
More than that, really.
Yeah, and I think to touch on, the big strategy for us was the show and having like a trust building series of videos every week where it's like a little, longer conversation, the Pretend People Problem specifically for the product. But then also from the very beginning, we had talked about doing these kind of like short story, focus on one thing. We have one video that we did, which is the You Don't Get What You Don't Ask For video. And that was just a test to do one, see how long it took, see what the process was like, see if we enjoyed it. And then just like everything started rolling really quickly with Wandering Aimfully and trying to get members and all that stuff. And it's like, well, we have to make a list of things that we're doing and we need to cut the stuff that isn't attributing to making money.
Exactly.
Because as fun as it is to make great videos, it takes a lot of time and there's not a direct return on the money.
Yeah, and it's great if you have a team of 10 people and you can have...
Even a team of more than the two of us.
And you could have people creating that type of branded content for you. We totally believe in the power of it. It's just if you're 2 people and you have to be really tight with your resources, then you're not going to choose to do that. But that reminds me, I didn't really finish that thought. That is originally what our goal was basically to use YouTube as a trust building platform.
That's why you tagged me in. It's like Tag team. Hello.
And then also, to close the loop on the pretend people problems, that was a little bit different because it wasn't just trust building. We were trying to attract people organically using search terms. And then also we had a couple of things like we did worksheets that people could click through to in the description of the video to try and kind of capture some of that traffic. Yep. So those were just 2 little experiments that we did.
Yeah. Okay, so moving forward from here, one thing we have done, and just recently, is we've decided not to do the video portion of our podcast anymore. So Wandering Aimfully, the show, video version, done. A couple reasons for that. Number one, it's just a lot of work. I mean, it's 10 to 14 hours of editing time for me if I'm doing the editing, especially the way that I was doing the past couple. Even if we just did one camera, sync up the audio, color correct a little bit, I mean, that's boring. It's really not fun to watch that at all. So it's really just, it came down to, we had a 3-camera setup. Then we had the studio at our friend's house at the Watch Pod, which was fun. And we had Nina, the editor, who helped us do just that with multi-camera editing. And then I tried to make it more fun and interesting even for me just to watch and have like little things thrown in. That was the past 5 to 10 episodes that we did. And it just boiled down to, it never grew beyond getting 500 views per video. And in my mind, and I think we actually talked about this in an early meeting, which was, we're going to do this for 6 months. We're going to see how it goes. And it was 34 episodes that we did video-wise. So 26 would have been half a year. And it just never grew to a point where there was enough traction and enough interest from people for us, I think, to go, okay, this time is worth the investment. As opposed to, let's reinvest that 10 to 14 hours into something else. Let's try something new. So it's not just going, YouTube doesn't work, let's abandon it. No, it's going, okay, that worked. It just didn't grow to a point where we felt like we should keep doing it that way. So now let's reassess that time and figure out doing something else.
What we're kind of looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong because they haven't explicitly said this, but we kind of want to keep running these experiments until we find something that has a disproportionate like outcome to the amount of time put in.
So yeah, and
do you know what I'm saying? Like
totally.
We're looking for something to basically pop.
Yeah, and to quantify that. So I think if our show episode started to get like 10% growth month over month, that would have been a win for me. I would have been like,
it's
okay,
not just like,
it's not like it needs to get 10,000 views. I don't care about that. It's not that we need to get 1,000 subscribers every month or day, or it's not that. It's just I want to see growth over time.
Yeah.
And so we weren't seeing that, and in actuality, we were seeing it go the opposite direction. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, there's some signals here. Things aren't working. Let's switch it up. Let's change it up.
Switch it up.
Switch it up. Switch it up. And now is the time to talk about switching it up. So we switch it up. You know, we have a lot of different ways we can go with this. We have a lot of different directions we can take the videos that we create. And the point of this meeting is to really sit down and talk about, okay, what are those directions? Do they make sense for the overall strategy? What is our strategy moving forward? How long do we want to stick with this? And how much work can we both potentially put in and not feel like it's overworking ourselves for video? Don't shoot me with finger guns.
It is a fun gun. This is not an actual gun. This is made with fingers, and it shoots fun.
Is it a Funstal? It's a fun pistol. Funstal.
Okay, first of all,
Finstal?
Fun gun is a
water pistol is where I was going to say.
Fun gun rhymes and is very clever. Very clever.
Yeah.
Funstol is what you suggested. Funstol.
Let the jury.
A funstol.
Let the jury note that there was no laughter when you said fun gun. No one laughed.
I'll tell you who definitely didn't laugh at Funstol.
I'm laughing. Good one. Funstol. I like it. All right. So let's talk about a couple of different ways that we could do videos, and even some stuff we've already talked about that we know we're not going to do.
Can I, before we start that discussion, I think I have a question, which is, what are the most popular videos on our channel now? Like, is anything working or helpful? Like, just, is there something we can gauge interest on?
Nothing has continual viewership growth over time.
What are the 3 top videos on our channel?
One is our sales video, because we pushed that the hardest. It's been up. It's been the main channel video for the longest period of time.
So
yeah,
because it like auto plays and people come to the channel.
Yep.
Okay.
The second one is the Dear Caroline video I made for you with your book launch.
Oh, that's sweet, but we can't do that all the time.
I mean, I guess I could. You know, just
romance, love, affection. Take notes. Romance, love, affection.
My pen ran out of ink.
Metaphorically,
let the jury show that the
stop doing that. Jury, go home.
And then I think the third most popular video is
our branding unedited meeting.
The branded unedited meeting. Yeah. The Ask video is up there. It's
But
in
it was
the
our
top.
main channel for a while.
It was the main channel video for a while. So after that, it's really just kind of a crapshoot on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not much to glean from all that.
No, but I
Half
think
birthdays.
But I think that's actually a really important note because a lot of people
rotate every video
might
as their
be
main channel.
in the same situation with us where they
Right.
don't have any data and they can't look at anything and go, oh, this one video did really well. I mean, we've put up, at least at this point, it's got to be 50 videos on the channel, if not a little bit more. And even with 50 pieces of content, we don't have any clear, okay, this is something that's growing. So that's why I think at this point, it's kind of like a clean slate for us. And it's just to decide, what do we want to do? How long do we want to do it for? And we'll wander aimfully through it. We'll report back. We'll stick with it, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So I think the first thing that we should just get right out of the gate is a vlog style video.
Right.
So this
Which is just like what we're doing, what we're up to.
yeah, it's like it could be a weekly, it could be a bi-weekly. We would film more clips around the house, around when we're going to the coffee shop, when we're out, if we're doing any little trips. We would sit down and maybe talk about it, and we would try and frame some sort of lesson that we learned in life or business through other things. Because we're always learning stuff, so there's always
Totally.
things to be shared. The thing that we come back to on this every single time we talk about it is that we don't want to be filming our lives all the time.
It's so, not only is it so much just work and like extra thought that goes into it of we got to bring the camera and you got to make sure but it's just, it takes you out of the present moment.
Yeah.
And so there's a trade-off there where I understand why it's worth it to some degree, especially people who like their entire business is travel or whatever.
Right.
So they get these amazing experiences and the trade-off is they have to film it because that's the way that it works. I haven't decided yet. I take this both ways. One of them is that I like seeing vlogs of other people, and there's not a lot of creative couples working
Right.
together who do that and film it. Like a lot of the ones that I can think of are just the van life type
Yeah.
stuff where yes, they're working together, but they're going on travel and it's not their everyday life, so I can't really relate to that.
Yep.
So I think there's kind of a niche that isn't being served, so that's a pro. Also a pro is that there are a lot of times where I look back and I'm like, wow, I wish we had documented some of our lives in that way. You know,
Totally.
like I think back to different times in our lives and I'm like, I wish we had some sort of video to just relive those moments. So that's a pro to me. The con is taking the camera everywhere, the awkwardness of like filming
in public.
in public, and that's just something you have to get over. I think it's ironic because like when you were doing I Wear Your Shirt back in the day, we used to do it all the time.
Oh, I was doing it all the time. It just wasn't like vlogging didn't exist in 2009.
I know, so
it's-
that's why I'm like, I
Yeah.
think it might actually be more like easier to do it now because people kind of get what
Yeah.
you're doing, but I still think it would be really uncomfortable.
I think the thing about a vlog style video is that I do like it, and I know that when I watch them, I know that I'm just watching like a glimpse of this person's life, and that's why I'm watching is because I'm curious about how they live, what they talk about. But I think the only thing about that is a struggle for both of us is that we know what it takes to create that type of content. It's not like we're just getting started and we have like fresh eyes about it. We've been through that. And so we know how much effort that takes and how much it disrupts your life. And I just don't think that, like, to me, that's the biggest con to it.
Mm-hmm.
That it just is interesting as I think it could be. And here's where it would be completely different. If someone came and lived with us and just filmed us all the time and then just like cut together a vlog video, that'd be great. You know, like I think it would be fun and that'd be fine. But for us to have to handle the camera, talk about shots, talk about what we're filming, talk about these things, I just think it's a not a good style for us and what we want to do, at least right now.
Wow, you really just came to that on your own.
Well, no, I think I knew that beforehand, but I wanted
yeah.
to talk through it.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so vlog style for now, I'm just going to put an X. Okay. The other thing I think we talked about was pretend people problems. We like doing them. We actually got them down to, from a recording and initial production, it's 30 minutes, which is really nice. So the script is already written, so that's pre-production. The setting up the camera, recording, going through the lines, me doing silly stuff in the background, you saying actual helpful things, and like hitting stop, everything's done 30 minutes. But the script itself, let me just pretend people problems. So the script itself takes about 2 hours, maybe?
To write?
Yeah.
No, when I finally got down to it, it took like half an hour. Because I have the template for pretend people problems, remember?
Let's say it's an hour.
Okay.
So 1 hour.
I'm just telling you it wasn't, but... You're just saying that because I haven't been able to work, so...
No. I'm just thinking back to, like, we would go back and forth on it. We would change some things. You'd get it set up on the iPad. Like, I'm thinking about, like, all the things that have to do with the script.
Okay, if you're talking about all the things
Yeah.
having to do with the script,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You can write an hour.
Right. Okay, so script 1 hour. The actual production 30 minutes. We got that down. So then the illustrations.
Yeah, that took the most time.
I mean, what do you think is a reasonable estimation for that?
4 hours?
Yeah, let's call it 5. Let's just tack 1 on there. And then for me to edit that video, probably 2 hours is realistic. From like start to finish, color corrected, all that stuff. So the total time for that, 8.5 hours. It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time for those videos. So one thing that we talked about...
This is a real question. What are you aiming for here? Like,
Well,
what do you think is not a lot of time to spend on a video?
It's not that I don't want to spend a certain amount of time on a video. It's that I want to make sure that the amount of time that we're spending, we're both like super excited about that if we were to like have that happen. So one of my thoughts was when we started talking about this was to do pretend people problems, but remove the illustration part from it. And instead just do what I was doing with the previous show videos where it was like the little interstitial small things. So like the little
and the hard
GIFs, the
part
little
is
sound
that
effects.
I really like the illustrations, and
I really like the illustrations too. I just don't know that spending 5 hours a week is realistic for you.
I know. But then without them, I'm like, it's very hard for me to get excited about that type of a video.
Totally.
Because not only that, but it's like, it's just like every other how-to video on the internet.
Right. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that one.
Okay.
So the other thing that, like, style of video to kind of discuss is the ask video that we did. So we did one of those. And essentially the way that that works is it's another scripted video. It's sitting in one spot saying the whole thing and then going out and filming filming all the B-roll to go over top of it that accompanies it. And I like that style of video, but it's a lot harder to like necessarily plan everything until you kind of get going with it.
Yeah, I'm also, I don't know, like, I think in theory I really like that video. Here's the truth about that type of video. I think that we watch those types of videos from like filmmakers on YouTube and we feel very inspired by them. And so we want to recreate that feeling for other people. But the truth is, like, I don't know that that's 100% authentic. Like, in terms of, we're not these like cinematographers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but I mean, certainly we're not as talented as like our friend Caleb at making videos.
I'm just saying, like, is there a way,
or Matt or anybody else? But like, I still understand how to film things that look decent and are interesting and visually are compelling.
I know, I'm not trying to discredit your skill set in whatsoever. I'm just saying, is there a way to tweak that type of video that feels more us?
So what feels more
different?
us that you think there's a disconnect when we talk about like a more cinematic video?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
What I know is if I boil it down to like what our skill sets are and what we bring to the table, I think you're incredibly funny and really good at off the cuff and like being silly and that type of stuff. So I think that's an ingredient. Funstalls. I think I like doing all of the...
Hold on, I want to write these things down because I think they're important.
Right. So whenever I hit, just talking to the people at home, whenever we hit kind of a roadblock, I always like to go back to, well, what do we know we can bring to something? Or what do we know that we want the ingredients to be? So that's what I'm kind of trying to do here. So that fun personality type thing is like an ingredient. I also really like...
So let's identify a couple things that you feel, because I think this is a good exercise. Someone watching this who wants to create a strategy for their writing, or if they want to do video, like they could do the same thing. So you said I'm silly and funny.
Right. So the real question here is like, what makes us unique? What can we bring to the table?
So Carol, give me a Carol. We'll bounce back and forth.
I think that I can bring, like, I like the illustrations are a perfect example. Like some type of graphic and.
So visuals and graphics.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're also incredibly intelligent. Did you know the thing? Okay. Just want to make sure.
How did we bring that to the video?
Did the jury get that? You bring that to the video in writing a good script.
Okay.
So that's
put script.
No, but it's also like script writer. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, I'll just put like decent editor. You know, like the timing of clips and things when I'm going through and doing an edit and like knowing in some respects what to cut out and what to leave and those types of things.
I would say willing to be vulnerable. Like willing.
For you?
Yeah, for both of us, but more me, for sure. Like willing to show.
Vulnerable's a tough one.
Vulnerable.
Wow. My handwriting is atrocious today.
I think also just I'm getting to the point now where I'm getting a lot more comfortable with seeing myself on camera. Like I don't need to be fully made up. I don't need to be fully.
I mean, that's
like,
what you
perfect.
think. That's what you think, but.
I mean, I think the people at home can clearly see she's okay with just being herself.
No, and I think that's. I mean, I've said that for years. Like you don't need to be done up. Yeah. You're great just the way you are, and that's to all, and especially I think female people on camera. It's like.
Well, I think that holds a lot of people back because they're like, oh, I have to do my makeup. But.
I don't think you do.
The more you can just be like, this is.
And if people do think you do, then they can suck a fun stool. Okay, so those are the things that make us us. So,
yeah, I just thought that was good to.
So now, how do we apply that to a style of video?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
I mean, this is what we come back to time and time again. Is like we want to have a unique style video that feels unique to us. We don't want to spend an exorbitant amount of time. Like we're willing to spend some amount of time, and we want it to be helpful or entertaining.
Well, that's what I come back to is like we always circle around these things. Like, do we want to show our lifestyle, or do we want to teach people something, or do we want to inspire people? Like, and those are 3 different purposes of those 3 different types of videos.
Yeah.
And so my question is, should we just narrow in on one of those and try to do that really well and come up with like a different style for that purpose? So which of those 3 purposes do you think is most worth the investment?
I mean, if we're talking about most worth the investment, to me, it's the helpful, like, things we've learned in life and business.
Which do you think is the most fun? Like, which do you get the most excited about?
I mean, I don't know what a lifestyle video looks like for us because we've never focused on that for more than, like, 1 or 2 videos. So,
I know, but just, like, right.
So it's hard for me to even know, like, so we filmed a bunch of travel videos, footage really, and we've never turned that into anything. So to me, that's a clear, like, lifestyle videos aren't important enough or interesting enough for us to even spend time on.
I think also a really big roadblock for us is that it's the Ira Glass thing, which is that we are not, whether it's because of a timing thing or whatever, but I feel like we're not willing to go through the bad stuff in order to get to the good stuff of what we can uniquely do. So you and I have this thing where because our taste level is so high and we see other people doing it well and we know what doing a video well looks like, we start it and it doesn't really totally live up to our expectations, and then we just are like, well, let's try something different. Like we don't stick with it enough in order to find our voice. I think all the people whose videos that we love, they found their voice through going through bad videos and through like developing
it's the same thing with our writing, right? Like I only feel comfortable writing a 2,000 word article and publishing it and not worrying about what people think is because I've written hundreds of them now. Totally.
And the same with my art on Instagram. Like I only feel confident posting that because if you go back 3 years ago and you see the stuff that I posted, it was not good, but I had to get through that. So for me, it's like, if I could come out of this with one thing, it would be one purpose to get behind, and then a general idea of how to start, and then to be open to the evolution of that, but like consistency being our main metric. Mm-hmm. Like, let's do this type of video. Let's try to do it once a week for the next 3 months or whatever, and let's see what voice, and let's not spend more than X amount of hours on it, and then let's see how our voice develops from that. But I feel like you have to get like 10 videos of that one style under your belt.
That's fine.
In order to be able to say.
I think that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, so here's my...
But doesn't that kind of help narrow in what we're trying to achieve?
Kind of. So here's my follow-up question to that. Is the stenographer typing? Okay, good. Ouch, you bit me.
I just feel like biting you.
Ouch. If you had to decide right now, someone had a fun still to your head, and they said, tell me what your video is going to look like, what the style of it is, what it's going to be about. What is that right now? Go. Come on.
I can't.
Just first things that come to mind of what you would do.
I'm very torn because I...
Like Natalie and Brucey?
Nothing's right.
Okay, that's enough. We're not doing that in videos.
It would be all karaoke all the time.
No.
I am torn because I'm pulled towards the lifestyle stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what would that look like to you?
Yeah, I think sort of like our week kind of recap.
Mm-hmm.
Clips of the stuff we did, the meetings we had, the things we decided on. Like, there's so much stuff that I do feel like is helpful, but we would do it through the lens of the lifestyle stuff. Like, we sit down and we do this whiteboard thing, or, you know, we have discussions about, do we blow up our entire business model or do we not? And we have to talk each other down from that ledge. You know, or there's a day where I just don't feel really well, and like, how do we navigate that? And we don't document any of that, so I guess it would just look like a vlog format for like a weekly recap, like here's what we did this week. And I don't know how that's different or unique or interesting, but I guess that's what I would be wanting to find out over time.
Yeah, one idea that we talked about this, and I think it was your idea, just so that the prosecution and the defense can rest, is something along the lines of the style of Hank and John Green shooting videos essentially for one another about a topic. So it's like, hey, Hank, this week, blah, blah, blah. We had talked about doing this very early on in a style where it was like, I bring something to you in a video, and then either you respond to it or whatever. But the thing that I just thought about, and maybe this is what we talked about a year ago, and it's just surfacing back up, and it's still your idea, it's not my idea. But what if it was like, almost like a confessional style for a minute or 2 minutes or whatever, where I sit down in front of the camera and I'm like, Carol, the big thing that I learned this week is that, like, as much as I want to blow everything up, like, we got to slow down, we got to stay with what we're doing, we got to do whatever. And then you almost like watch that back, and then you reply to that in that video. And so it's almost like we had this discussion, but it's all happening on camera without the other person there. Mm-hmm. So you kind of do that, like, without knowing what the other person is going to say.
But now that you said Hank and John Green, I'm like, that's exactly
but they don't do it in the same video. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
Like, it's us interacting in the same video and doing that together. I don't know. And there could be some type of lifestyle element like smashed in there too.
Right. Or maybe something about, I do think that what the tidbit that I like about that is the nugget. Something about, it's kind of like that weird movie you were watching or whatever, but the same experience from two different people's perspectives.
Right.
So I don't know if it's that format or if it's somehow us filming these like little confession style clips in between all of the vlog footage from the week.
Yeah, you know what? This just made me think that, like, it's almost like if there was a topic to every video, and so bear with me very quickly. If you know bad ideas brainstorm, my brain is like churning, the wheels are churning.
This is why we start with bad ideas.
Totally.
To get to good ones.
So let's say that this is this has really nothing to do with the lifestyle stuff.
Okay.
But could potentially get there. Is, let's say we wanted to do a video where the premise was, what are our top 3 tips on getting out of debt? And so it's like, from his, from hers. So I don't know what yours are. You don't know what mine are. Mm-hmm. And then
it's like Newlywed Game.
so like I say them into the camera, and maybe we do like very simple graphics, just to keep visual interest. You keep it short and snappy, so it's like build a spreadsheet, get your debt payoff spreadsheet, blah blah. Like, and this is just my example. It could be lots of other things. How to be a minimalist, how to eat a healthier diet, how to work out, like whatever those things are. And so I do my 3, you do your 3, and then we both watch them back, and then kind of like respond to them like at the end almost of like, oh, that was interesting that we both said the same thing there, or like, oh, you did that. Like, you almost have the commentary of the actual tips as well. It could be kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny you just saying that, because I do like that, but I do think that after a couple times it might get old, because like you're just sort of like, oh, did they match? Like, I don't know how helpful that is to a person to be like, did they match or not? Mm-hmm. But it did make me think, do you remember early on when we came up with Wandering Aimfully, we always talked about this idea of like the dualities that both of us bring to the table, like how I focus so much on mindset and like personal development and you know, getting to know yourself, and you are so good at the action stuff and like get up and do, you know. And so and we always kind of talk about that as wandering aimfully, like the curiosity and kind of and you can even view it as like the more traditionally masculine and feminine energies. Like the more masculine energy is like do and go and charge ahead, and the more feminine energy being softer and like who am I and all those questions. But I wonder if there's something around tying that together through our different perspectives of like, you're using your debt example, like your 3 things would be like action items, right? Like do the spreadsheet, blah, blah. And mine would be more like the 3 mindset shifts that you have to make. And I don't know if there's something to that sort of format. Again, not sure how it brings in the lifestyle element at all.
No, it doesn't. I mean, like I said,
it's
that
more
was
of
just
like an interesting way to do like the helpful video.
Yeah. Going back to the lifestyle thing. Yeah, I literally can't get past this roadblock of it just interrupting our life a whole ton. Where when we walk to the coffee shop right now, we never look at our phone start to finish. We sit down in the coffee shop for 5 to 10 minutes, we chat, I eat a pastry, we walk to the park, we walk back, and not a single moment of that is captured. It's just enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like even just trying to set up like a decent looking shot, like we don't even have to be a cinematographer, but just like it looks okay on camera. It's not super shaky. It's not me filming the floor. Like that stuff, and we know this about ourselves, is that it can get tricky, you know, because it's like I have a vision for this, or you have a vision for it.
And also you don't have a part of your brain that goes, this is good enough. Like,
yeah, I'm anal when it comes to, I want things to look as good as I can possibly make them. And that doesn't mean that they're even great looking. It's just, it has to be good enough for me that if I can't watch it back, it's why we haven't done our travel videos as like official things. Like I pushed that Tahiti one out into the world because I just was like, I just have to get this published to see how I feel about it. And I didn't feel good enough about it to continue to edit the other ones. I was just like, it's boring. You know, it's not even that exciting.
But again, I think this comes back to like our whole thing, which is maybe this is a bigger conversation that we have to have about our own expectations, because I feel like had we done that for the footage that we have for the 7 trips or whatever, like maybe a creative voice would have developed, but because you did the first one and you were just like, oh, it's not good enough compared to what I wanted it to be, then we just like let it die, you know? Mm-hmm. And similarly, I can see us falling into a trap where, let's just say we do a straight up vlog of this was our week. The second that you flip that switch and go, okay, we are going to film our lives in certain places, I know your brain is going to then want the best shot possible for this. And then you're going to start doing the filmmaker thing, which is great and everything. But then if you sit down and start to edit it,
it was very kind of you to call me a filmmaker.
You sit down. Generous.
That was extremely loving compliment.
Very loving.
Yeah.
You sit down and you edit it, and you're going to be like,
yeah, it's a bummer.
It didn't look as good as I thought it was. But I mean, that's never going to change. So that's maybe something that you have to work on yourself.
Yeah. What's another way to think about recording and filming and doing a weekly video that just feels like really akin to us, that like would just be that brings in all of these things? So like, how could we do something that brings in the visual element, the intelligent kind of script? Like, so here's just a thought. So let's just say we look at last week, and we would sit down on Saturday or Sunday or Monday or whatever, and we would just go, okay, what did we do last week? And maybe we have some notes on our phone. Like maybe that's what we start doing. We just take notes on our phone or whatever. And we go like, okay, we went to the coffee shop. Oh, we talked about this. Like, oh, we sat in here and we talked about this Venn diagram of things. Oh, we went to Palm Springs and like here's, and we just wrote out like what that was. And we just sat and talked about that. And then instead of trying to capture the moment every single time we're in that moment, what if we found a way to do like the visual and graphics on top of it to show that, and it's not necessarily just us in it, but it's like it's almost like the pretend people problem style where like you can invent that on every single weird thing that I say, you know, the iguana massage therapist, like we didn't capture that, we created it. It was that was that. So what if we took that kind of like lifestyle, here's what's been going on, here's what we've been doing, learning, talking about, and just try and visually tell that story along with saying the story in our own unique way that doesn't involve having to film at every single instance.
Yeah, or I'm even thinking...
Because we do film, like, that is the other thing. We do film little things here and there.
Right. Well, that's what I'm thinking is, like, I can almost picture something where it's sort of like a cool graphic screen of, like, Monday and, like, we're talking about it, but it's little B-roll clips or, like, iPhone clips. Almost like, think of an Instagram story on steroids.
Right.
You know, like, stuff is moving and stuff is interesting. Yeah. And then maybe there's a way to wrap up the lesson there. Because, of course, now that we're doing this, I'm like, well, then what the fuck is the point? Like, if, like, half of the curiosity of the vlog is, like, seeing people do stuff, not like, oh, cool, what did you do? You know, it's like, you're seeing it kind of real time.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think people experiencing this on YouTube every single week, it's like when you watched Eamon and Beck's video on Sunday and you're like, yeah, but I already saw on Instagram and other thing, but like, I don't follow them on Instagram. So I'm only following their journey on YouTube. So I only know what they're up to. Like they could have gone to Iceland 6 months ago, but I'm only seeing the video now. So in my reality, they're there now, you know? So I don't think that necessarily matters as much as it's just like, if we really want to go the lifestyle route and we want to do that, I'm just trying to solve the main problem for me, and I think for you as well, which is the filming at every location or spot to get some type of clip. And then specifically for me being such an accredited filmmaker is having to have like a perfect shot or even just like a really great shot that I'm proud of. And I think we can almost get rid of that if we were to just come up with some good visual interest, like some good visual graphics or ways to solve that problem where like you can do stuff in Procreate so quickly, and we could just create a style guide for our videos essentially where it's like, oh, here's the wash that we do. And like, if we're at a location or we're traveling, like I can just quickly illustrate like the palm trees or the pool or whatever. And I can make those things slide in and out of a video to add visual interest and put them on a photo backdrop that feels kind of cool. And yeah, it's not us necessarily in the pool taking the video, but that's also the point of why we're doing it this way. And we almost say that, you know, it's like, hey, we want to share our life with you, but we also want to live our life, which is why we don't film at every location or whatever. Like, I don't know how we...
Well, I don't think you have to. I think
yeah, but I just think that like that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we just experiment and we try one. You know what I mean? And we just commit to like, we're going to do 10 of these and we're just going to see. And
here's the thing, like, I think we also give ourselves permission if like it's a really boring week or we don't do anything or maybe you're not feeling well or whatever, it can be 2 minutes long and there's just not a lot to update, you know?
Well, because the thing that I like about that, because my brain instantly goes to like, well, why even do it then if it's not like going to be helpful or whatever? But every week we are learning stuff and we're changing stuff and we're thinking about stuff, and I think that does have a positive impact on people who, if they want to live more intentionally, like I know I'm just curious about how other people live because
totally, I am too.
It informs the way that we live, you know. Yeah. So,
and I do think if we committed to this and we didn't change how we started, like if we film little clips here and there, like we're not making that a priority in life, but what we do is we have maybe a shared note on our phone in the Notes app, and so when something happens or we talk about it, we just make a note. And that takes no time at all. That's barely anything because there's no visual, like setup for it. Like I don't do it. I just have to write down, hey, Monday had a conversation about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we carve out part of this whiteboard where every week we write down little nuggets for the week, and we can just go back to those and then film that stuff.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking too, is like, let's say today's Monday, let's say we were having a meeting about the video from last week, and you and I had both written a couple of different like nuggets, and we could talk about them and say, here's what I learned. Then if we need to sit down and record like a little bit of a talking head thing, you can put that in the previous week's video.
Totally.
In between,
yeah. And I'm all for the free flowingness of we just start to compile, like I think we write out, like it's going to start with just writing out like what happened last week. Mm-hmm. And then I even think we just have bullet points. Like we don't need a script, but it's just like, here are the things we did last week. So maybe we sit down like this, frame it, do kind of the talking head style setup where we go like, all right, here's what we did last week. And we talked about this and that and whatever. And then like visuals come on top of it. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then it could also just be, if it's something that was just specifically for you, is that you could just grab your iPhone and just record right here at your desk and just set it up on the side of the desk and talk about, I was working in Procreate and I like did this thing and I really liked it and it was fun. And that just gets segmented in, right? And so we just know in the bullet points, like, okay, you're going to record this one at your desk. I'm going to record this one outside. Or
are you thinking of that in between, like while real time, I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm almost thinking like the story of the video itself is not just sitting and talking head and clips over top. It's the story is if there's things we want to talk about that are kind of together, like if we did this like Venn diagram thing I keep pointing at over here that's worthless to show you because it's just nothing came of it anyway. But if that was it, we would talk about that and how nothing came of that and we tried whatever. And then it just like, it's almost just like a cut to you at your desk and being like, okay, and then I spent time in Procreate and I was doing this.
Right.
And then it's like cutting to me of, I've been riding my bike still every morning, at least 5 days a week, burning 400 calories every day. I eat about 6 donuts a week, so it's kind of counteracting all of that, but that's okay because at least it's evening out. But like, it's that, and it's not just sitting here talking with clips over top.
Right. That's what I don't want.
Right.
Yeah, I like that style. And I just think we should leave it open and just have fun with it and see what happens. So I think it could be cool to just do this as an experiment and because today's Monday.
Yeah.
So we can just do this for the entire week. Keep staying mindful of the fact that like, if something is worth sharing, that we want to have a little bit of vocal narration part, that we film that ourselves, and maybe you come up with an organization system, because I know you love that, of like a folder for the week, and like here are the clips, and the second that we record it on our phone, we add it to the folder so that we don't have to go searching for it the following week. And then, the following Monday, maybe we sit down and we look through all the things and we kind of like pull together the narrative and say, these 3 things didn't turn into anything. They're not really worth sharing. I don't know. And this also solves the problem of like when we're always finding stuff of like, oh, I listened to this podcast or blah, blah,
right.
like, because that happens to me every day where I'm like, oh, this made me think about this, or this is an interesting thing that I would like to tell people about.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we just try one, we reassess, and if we think that we like it, then maybe it's worth just doing it for the rest of the summer and just see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, we need to commit to it for more than 3 videos, less than probably 30 videos. And if this is what...
But, like, if we do this one and the graphics take 10 hours...
Right.
Like the other one, and we're like...
Just not worth it. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's, we'll always assess how that goes.
And I think we do need to do all of this with what we discussed in mind, which is we're going to have to swallow our pride for a couple of these to not make it... Because the thing that you always bring up is like, oh, it took me 15 hours to record or to edit the show, or it took me 4 hours to do the graphics. And it's like, it only takes that long because we both still hold on to this like perfectionist mindset around those things.
Well, yeah, but
and
it
I get
also
that there's
takes,
like a threshold.
but it also takes as long as it takes to make something that's at least of a certain quality.
I understand, but you say that, but then if you look back at your edits, like, did we need the like weird.
Well, yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying,
Yeah,
you know.
it's impossible to know. Yeah, I mean, what also might be interesting in this is just to create a cap of how long we can spend on it.
Right.
Like
Which
that's
we have
the
done
other
before.
thing, which is like start a toggle account just for our video editing and go, okay, like we're only going to give ourselves 5 total hours from start to film to edit to upload to post, because all that stuff takes time too. You know, it's like writing the title, writing the caption, getting the thumbnail. Like that's just, it's all time that goes into this. And I think if we have a time limit on it, then it helps us. Those constraints are always important.
Yes.
We've found that in every single thing that we've ever done is constraints and limitations actually help you create more and better things because you don't allow yourself just to do all the things. So I think we also just say that.
What law
like,
is that?
That's Parkinson's law. 5
The
hour.
time allotted will expand to fit the container.
Do you think we should try and do the first one for like last week?
No, because we didn't film any of the things last week.
But that's the point though. That's what I'm trying to say is that.
No. Okay, then we need to get on the same page.
Okay.
So
my point is I don't want to change the way that we live where we start to film every single thing that we're doing or even think about that. My point is that like we went to Palm Springs, we listened to Joe Rogan, Naval Ravikant's podcast that everyone's going apeshit about, and maybe we want to talk about
People are
that.
going apeshit about
Oh
it?
my gosh, yeah. People are just like, oh, this is the best podcast episode of all time. Like if there were a couple things that we just sat down and just identified the things that we talked about, maybe we talk about this, you know, whatever, this thing that didn't work. Make 500, we started that. Like, what's that like?
I'm still so confused. So like, in your mind, take all those things that you just listed and tell me how you would put together a video for that.
In my mind, it's to sit down. This is what I thought
You're
when I
using
was
your
talking about it.
authoritative voice, and I need you to come.
Well, so you listen. It's so you actually listen, because I don't think you listened earlier.
You're about to be in big trouble.
I'm a filmmaker.
I'm
I
going to
can't
use
get in
my
trouble.
authoritative voice against your authoritative voice.
I'm a filmmaker. I can't get in trouble. This is the way that I saw it happening, where it doesn't take us out of living life every day. It's on Monday. I'm going to be super specific. So today.
You are being super suspicious.
Today, we sit down and we go, okay, what happened the past 7 days? So from Monday to Monday or whatever.
Then where was the note in all this? Hadn't we already written this down, theoretically?
I'm just saying for this very first one.
Okay.
So for this very first one, we go, okay, what happened? So we went to Palm Springs. We listened to this podcast episode. Maybe you found like a new brush on Procreate that you love. I did a photo shoot for my second book coming up. I had some great donuts. You hugged a lady at the park. We watched Chess Show. I watched Bad Times at the El Royale, which is an amazing movie. And that's everything that we wanted to recap in the week. So we just write all that stuff down. And then visually we go, okay, how are we telling that story? Like, what does that look like? So for me, some of the book, like photo stuff, like doesn't involve you. So like I could just film me talking about that for a minute and a half or whatever, like by myself, kind of like selfie cam on my phone or whatever.
After the fact.
After we go through all these bullets and just talk about that experience of what I did. Oh, just got back from like filmed, you know, with Jen and Caleb, took a bunch of photos.
This is what I don't understand. You just said just got back from.
Because in like as we're telling the story, it doesn't matter that we didn't just get back from. I'm just saying in the video, I'm saying I just did this thing. I did this thing last week.
Okay.
So the whole thing is just as you're watching it, it's us saying the things that we did and then having some type of visual to go along with that. And it doesn't have to be, I literally just left their house and I'm sitting in the car talking about it. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't matter. Like whether we do it there or here, that's only just a complication of how you want to produce that thing. Mm-hmm. So it just becomes you plan this out and then you both record the different things that you want to talk about with each thing and what you learned or took away or what have you. And then if we want to do it together, we sit down and talk about them together. And I think we always start and finish the video together. Like that's always the thing, which we only know after writing everything out and knowing what the narrative is. Mm-hmm. And the rest of it is just the clips of us talking individually. Any visuals that you want to put on, or like if we come up with a visual style guide for the video where we just have like simple things we can use again and again. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes the like, here's what we did last week. Mm-hmm. So then like what the naming convention is of the video, like what's going to attract someone to watch it, like I don't know what all that stuff is. We would come up with that, but
I don't know what it is. I'm just not like that super excited about that idea.
Okay.
I just think maybe it's because like I get what you're saying about it doesn't have to be right after we did the thing, but I'm actually trying to think through the logistics of us sitting down and filming all of that, of some of the narration, and I actually think it's more of a pain in the ass when you're trying to like think back to it, and it feels a little bit inauthentic to be like, and we did this and blah blah blah. So in my mind, where we were kind of landing is we don't want to just go and like be vlogging and talking to the camera all the time throughout everything in our lives. My mind was like, okay, if we're heading to the coffee shop and we know that we want that to be in the video somewhere.
Yeah, see, for me, this is the problem. I don't want to pull out my phone or bring the camera when we're walking to the coffee shop.
At all, not even just to...
I love the way that we live right now. I feel like it's so uninterrupted, and I do want to share all of our unique traits and things and thoughts and ideas, but I don't think it has to be super authentically in the moment for that story to be told. I think it can be done afterwards in a creative way where we just agree that we're telling a slightly delayed version of that story, but from the viewer's perspective, it's not going to matter to them. They're only living through our lives in the way that we're telling it on that video right there. But I hear you. Like, if you can't get behind it feeling authentic to talk about that a week later.
I just think that it removes the interesting part of it. Like, the thing that I like about watching those types of videos is that it's real and it's like somebody living in that moment versus just like talking about it. I mean, I don't know. I guess plenty of people watch people talking on camera. I don't know why this is always my like talking.
I don't know. I feel like we're at an impasse. Not a bad one, just like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it needs more... Maybe it needs to marinate and we can come back to it.
That's what I'm thinking, is like, we threw a lot of stuff out there. Nothing really totally stuck. But hopefully we haven't had this conversation for 6 months.
Yeah, totally. So, and I'm okay with the fact that we're not coming up with a specific plan. It's a cliffhanger, you know? What are you guys going to do? You're going to watch for the next one? I don't know. But truthfully, I mean, not all of these strategy sessions end with like a perfectly wrapped up in a bow, here's what's next. Now, that being said, going back to our constraints and limitations, a lot of times we do like for things to be like, okay, we have to make a decision at the end of this because we just need to move forward. So I do think...
But I don't think this is something where we have to move forward.
No, not at all. I mean, I think this is something where it was just good to talk about it. You haven't even had the capacity to think about this stuff for the past couple months. So we let this sit and simmer. Maybe we take a walk to a coffee shop without filming it. I can
definitely don't film it. That would be the worst thing that you could do, is to film it. Like,
I think
probably
ever.
Even just like 30 seconds of just filming your feet walking. You
Couldn't
don't do that.
Couldn't do it.
Would
I
ruin
agree.
walking.
I agree. I'd rather have a fun still to my head. Yeah, and we'll see what comes of it.
You guys will find out next week on... I'm just kidding.
Next week on Our New Strategy is just to record like this for 50 minutes every week and not come up with an answer to a problem.
This is called Talking in Circles. Welcome to our show.
Wait, hold on. There's something here. We don't edit anything. We just let it roll.
Welcome to Talking in Circles. We are going to definitely have a very specific idea about where this meeting is going to lead to.
And then at the end...
we never land it.
We just throw everything in the garbage. Wow.
I love it.
Plax loves it too.
Feels like
I hope we got some good Plax
that's the
snores.
most authentic, truly.
I hope we got some good Plax snores. It's true.
How many Talking in Circles moments have we had on this specific couch?
Many. All right, let's wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you got some value out of it. Maybe you were just like, well, that was a waste of an hour of my life. I don't know.
You always think that. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either. I think people like just looking into the lives of other people. And we could have had this conversation a month ago and you wouldn't know.
Do you have any ideas about what you would like to see on our YouTube channel? Is there something that we were very close to a good idea?
And if you've watched this far in this video, then you probably do care and you probably do have a thing that you like. Leave a comment, because it would be really helpful for us to know what the people who actually watch all the way through these videos are looking for from us. And then we can go, oh, that's interesting. That sparks some ideas. Let's do that. Cool?
Cool.
All right. Well, we're out of here.
We're going to go to the coffee shop.
Let the jury rest, and the prosecution is done objecting.
Sustained.
Okay, bye.